Realize what you want to get from this Inktober challenge. Is it developing a habit of drawing regularly? Is it getting better at a specific genre or medium? Or you just want to dive into this meditative process of art? Even though having the ideas of Inktober challenge when you are a beginner, you basically have no skills to create what is on your mind. You can take some tutorials on YouTube. However, if you are looking not for mere copying but learning, I would recommend getting some classes with step-by-step programs. If you check platforms like Udemy or Domestika, you'll see a lot of amazing classes for different levels. And usually there are discounts, so the average price for a course is about 15 USD. On Udemy there are classes that are more than 20 hours long, so I reckon you will have enough material to study. Crucial thing to remember that this is a challenge and it's not a job. There can be days when you are really busy, tired, and you will maybe you will skip one day. And if you do that, just have this in your mind that if you skip a day, the earth won't flip upside down. So there is no point of beating yourself up. Just when you start this Inktober challenge, aim to practice daily. Yet understand that missing a day does not mean that you totally failed. It means only that you skipped a day. And now I would like to talk to you about materials you might need if you are a beginner. Okay, let's talk about materials that you might need during this Inktober challenge. Well, Inktober challenge implies that we should use ink. For me personally, I have no idea how to choose that ink. I realized if I'm going to continue for 30 days learning a new medium, that would really demotivate me, and therefore I don't want you to be also hard on yourself, and I suggest you just graphics. For graphics I'm talking about simple pencils, paper. So we can see tons of pencils, but I highly recommend you just to stick with 4 of them because they have different types of pencils depending on how bold or how less bold they are. So the 4 pencils I recommend you to take is number 1, that is HB, because that is the one that you're going to use to make your sketches. So HB, my pencil is Faber-Castell, so this is a good brand. However, you can buy a cheaper one, but remember that it should give you good color. So this one is HB. It will be your basic, so maybe you need even 2 of them because you're going to keep it sharp, and when you need to keep it sharp, of course, you will use the sharpener and it will get shorter. Yep. Second pencil is 2B, so if you need bold lines, this is it. Also 5B. The 5B will be making the darkest points and lines that you might need. So HB, 2B, 5B, and the lightest will be 2H, so basically you might need to use them on the lightest places. So remember, you need an eraser, of course you need a sharpener, and you need a paper. So when you are training and training your lines, and you will go with a very cheap paper like A4 for printing one. When you are just practicing and you are just starting, buy the cheapest A4 for printing, that will be fine. However, when you're going to use this paper for drawing, it may not be able to hold a lot of corrections because this paper is very thin. And whenever you're going to use the eraser, it can be smashed. I recommend you to get a better paper. So this for serious works that you would like to practice. You see, every paper has this metrics, which is grams. It basically is how thick the paper is. So for these works, I recommend you to take 160 grams up to 200 grams without any texture. So basically it should be super plain. And I recommend to take white paper, Rowney, I don't know how to read it, Rooney, so 160 grams, 50 sheets over here. This is on the expensive side, however, this works well for me because I'm studying in the art classes, and online I'm sending the material to my teacher, so I make a lot of corrections, that's why I use this one. Also, of course, you need scissors and this tape. Why? So basically when you are drawing on, if you don't have an easel, I guess you don't have, and on the flat surface, whenever you're looking at the pictures, at your painting, like this, the angle that you're looking at is not correct. So basically you're looking at this like this, and your measurements will not be correct enough, and it's easy for a person to make mistakes. It can, like, even professionals will make mistakes because if they are drawing on the flat surface. So therefore it's highly recommended to take the piece of paper and put it on maybe like 30 degrees level, so that your eyes are looking over the paper like this, and you can see what is happening on your paper. For me, the best thing that I am doing to draw on the flat table, but just to add some degree to it, so I use my yoga block. I put it like this, and then I have this thing. It can be anything on which has no texture and which is also flat and straight. So I also bought this in the supply store, art supply store. It was inexpensive, however it's so useful, and it's very convenient to use it like this. However, if you're just starting and you are not sure that you're going to dive into that, and you just want to make it simple, just take a simple and cheap notebook with white paper. So this is like, I guess this is, the grams, it may be like 100 grams, 90 grams, maybe, I think maybe 100 grams. And it will work as well. So if you have like 30 lists over here, just few pens, eraser, and the sharpener, and you are done with that. You can. Alright, so now let's talk about those who want to practice watercolor. So if we're talking about watercolor, the most important thing in watercolor is actually not even watercolor paints, but the paper. When it comes to watercolor, the paper is essential, because watercolor is the medium where you need to add a lot of water on the paper. So basically, if we're talking about this work, I was adding like water on it, all over it, and it has not basically changed that much, you see, only like this. So I actually think if I used the hair dryer to blow it, it will finish straight. And this is 300 grams from Royal Talents, and this is cold pressed. I have 24 color paints. This is this company, it's actually Stedler, I don't know how to read it, it's a good company, and really nice watercolor paints. I have 24 of them, but if you start even with 12, that will go fine with you as well. For watercolor paint, for this type, you need some space where you will mix them, right? So I have a big one. But the thing is that watercolors, this is plastic. but watercolors prefer ceramics, and if you find it in your art supply store, then you're lucky, go for it, because I'm living on an island and it's a big problem to find anything over here. Let's move on to the brushes. For painting watercolors, there are techniques that are called, for example, wet on wet. And for this, you need to have this kind of big brush, and it should be synthetic. So basically, you need also a glass of water. You can just take a jar or something. No need to buy it. It's useless, because the bigger a jar you have, the more convenient it is, because the less you have to change the water. Here I have another from Royal Talents. This one is really good one. It's round. This is number 10 and this is number 6 by Dynasty. This is number 2. If you find a good one, you might need number 2 or number 3. And for teeny tiny details, you might need 00, or you see, it's like this. And I'm really happy with it. This is made of, like, this is natural. And when I need to make thin lines, you see, it's a nice thing. Alright, the last thing that you might need is also wipes. Wet wipes, because whenever you are drawing and you do not want to ruin your painting, you might need to take some water off your brush, and just wipes will be an amazing thing to do so. So I hope I have encouraged you to dive into Inktober.